David. What do you know about Zone 414? My city of robots. My androids. Companionship is rare these days.
Not my kind of place.
The task is my daughter, Melissa. 3 weeks ago, she went missing. I need you to retrieve her for me. And when you get there, find Jane. She might be my best creation. So unique.
Welcome to the zone.
You helped me find Melissa. So you're a friend of hers, right?
I don't need any more trouble.
What kind of trouble?
Hello, Jane.
Someone wants to kill me.
Don't move!
Someone's been stalking Jane.
I appreciate the fact that Jane is your tour guide. Don't trust her. Vit is paying you to find the girl. Find the girl. Get your money and leave.
You look, but you do not see. They can feel pain, you know, in their own way. They scream.
I said don't move! You have a murderer in the zone. Stay right there.
What's more human than fear?
Coming to digital platforms across Australia on 27th of October through Universal Pictures is Zone 414, starring our own Guy Pearce, directed by Andrew Baird, who's very kindly joined us now. Hello, Andrew. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Hey, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm going to jump straight to the element of great science fiction that most interests me, and that's the world building that goes on. Tell me about creating the landscape of Zone 414. What was the design brief for this world?
Well, I mean, it was quite a dark place. It's, you know, this zone where people go to live out whatever kind of sick fantasies, because that's what they're doing. They're not going there to find like healthy relationships. So, you know, they pay a high price to kind of live out their kind of sociopathic, psychotic sort of fantasies on these kind of machines. So it's a pretty dark, grungy world. I drew to a small degree from the Friedkin movie Cruising back in the day when, and it was to do with the way the meatpacking district was in the 80s, where the underground club started. And it was to do with the fact that activities were going on there that weren't approved by the the general populace. So it's the same thing with Zone. It's like these activities, and I don't mean, I'm being very careful not to get into like the homosexual thing or anything like that, which is totally fine. It's just the way that was done back then in the 80s. And it was just like, you know, you don't go there, or you're not meant to go there. You're not meant to do anything. And it was the same sort of situation with Zone. It's like, you know, all these perverts and like weirdos and, but in a way it's better perpetrated on a machine than it is on a human being. Right. So, but again, it's an adult graphic novel. That's what the movie is. It's a fun, at the end of the day, it's got to be entertaining. It's got that cyberpunk sort of vibe to it. It's very grungy. The one thing I'll say is, which is kind of a pro and a con, the response in America has been quite, it's got a big Paramount with Saban put it out in America, and Universal are putting it out here. And these are two big studios, you know, and it is being compared to these big studio movies, which I suppose, okay, but we're a small independent movie. So we had to be very smart and very creative on how we created this world. And I had a great team of people in Northern Ireland comprised of guys from people from Dublin and people from Belfast and the surrounds or whatever. and also London. Actually, the prosthetics company came over from London, and they did a great job. You know, I mean, they had a lot to do. Yeah.
Yeah, the certainly those prosthetics towards the end of the film, one scene in particular will live long in the memory. It's a nasty bit of work. I want to return to what you were saying about it's better to do it, to do this sort of a lot of this perverted stuff on robots. And you place a lot of trust in Matilda and Ingrid Lutz's Jane, because she has to find a very human quality, not only in her android character, but also to draw it out of Guy Pearce's David. And it does beg the question, what responsibility do we have to these androids that we create if they start developing sentient feelings and sentient emotions?
Yeah. I hear you, man. I mean, it's like I have to say, I don't know. It's like, I am not a sci-fi nut. I am not like, not a fan of Star Wars. I'm not a fan of Pokemon. I'm not a fan of all these I'm not a fan of this. What I'm a fan of is these old detective stories, like these old noirs. Genuinely, I grew up with my dad watching this stuff on TV late at night. And Zone is like one of these late night TV kind of mysterious the guy who cut the movie, the editor, I told him he started out cutting episodes of Cracker, the great Robbie Coltrane crime series in the UK. And I said, the story on Zone has to be like that, you know? And then it's wrapped up in this kind of strange visual world, but that's what it's about. And that's why with Jane, I wanted the humanity. It's all about the humanity. I wasn't really that interested in the politics or the psychology of the robot or the machine. I was interested in just using that as a catalyst to kind of highlight like where we are as human beings. And it's like, so Jane is a slave, you know, so Jane could be like minority, she could be female, she could be, you know, disabled, whatever it is. And that's what Jane represents. It represents the minority trying to break through and be their own person and be their own, and they have more human instinct, they have more character than the average human, because we know, particularly in LA, the technology is dividing everyone. I mean, people just run around on phones. They don't connect with each other anymore. They'd rather have a pet. They'd rather have a dog than a child, you know, because it's easier, less responsibility. Anyway, look, Matilda ran with Jane, made it her own. Super proud of what she did. She was very decisive in what she wanted to do. I supported her. We had a slight run-in once towards the end of the shoot, but only made that particular, I won't mention the scene, but it made it better. I'm super proud of what she did. She's a very strong, intelligent human being. And I was very careful not to go down, not to slip into that misogynistic kind of zone, forgive the pun, of what the movie could have been. And to like, you know, and also at the same time, you could have executed this in a super minimal, very dark, much more arty sort of zone. Because originally the way the script was written, it was very lean, but it kind of mushroomed as we went through the process. And we cast such great actors that, you know, it just developed. A movie, as I said on the previous call, was like building a house, and it develops, and the script is like the blueprint.
Sure. Well, tell us. Sorry, go on.
No, it's just, so you kind of, it develops as it goes, you know, and who you cast in the roles and where you shoot the movie, you know, it all affects the film, you know, and you have to let it affect the movie in a positive way. You know, you can't keep trying to force a circle into a square, you know, you have to let it grow, you know, and it grew, and Matilda was a big part in how the tone of the film grew. So, yeah.
Tell us how this little Irish science fiction film became filled with all these Aussie actors. First of all, what does an actor like Guy Pearce bring to a to a production like Zone 414?
Well, Guy's like, in a word, like a master. at what he's a master film actor. I mean, anyone will say that, you know, I mean, so to get for the novice and me being the novice and he's the master. And it was like, you know, it started a bit like a guy said this too. And it was like, we took a moment for us to find our communication, and then it rocked, you know, and it was great because it was like, you know, I mean, I'm the one who has to meet him, you know, not the, well, but I'm making the movie, I'm the filmmaker, you know, so, but again, it was great. How it happened was we had a real kind of angel on the movie and a senior executive producer called Mark Huffam, who had relationships with Guy and Travis, one on, because he produces Ridley Scott's movies. So that, I mean, the fact the movie keeps getting compared to Blade Runner is like, you know, whatever. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, not just Blade Runner, but these other, like at the sequel, I saw the sequel one time and I mean, I'm not a nut for these movies, you know? I mean, I'm a big fan of what Ridley Scott does as a filmmaker, but it's weird. And anyway, but Mark was, did Prometheus, and then he did Raised by Wolves. So there's relationships there. And that's how we were able to get into that casting. But it was the material. It was Brian Edward Hill's script that drew in these actors, you know? And in the US, it's gotten tremendous attention, but also some camps have criticized the script. And yet it's like, this is why we were able to get, of course, I'm very good with actors. I'm very happy about that. I've learned that quickly. I really have an affinity with them. And of course, so there's me that has brought them in, but they don't come in on bad material. The material has to be really good, and look at the quality of actors we got. So it says it all. And Travis pulled up off a bold move, like a very bold move. Yeah, but that shows how fearless he is as an actor. Yeah. And, you know, it was scary. It's like, you know, and I have to say, by and large, people have appreciated what he's done, you know. And this other movie I've done with him, he played a role that 99 out of 100 actors wouldn't play. They wouldn't touch it. And he's spectacular in that as well. He's a very fine actor. I couldn't speak high. You know, I mean, Travis obviously has these iconic roles of Vikings, and now he's in Raised by Wolves. But in truth, Travis is just a bloody fantastic actor who could play any role he sets his mind to. Not dissimilar to Guy, whereas Guy has gone out there and proven that. Like, I mean, he's out and played every role you can imagine. But playing David Carmichael in Zone, he didn't play that role too many times. I can't actually, to be quite honest, remember a role where he played the tough kind of leading man, you know, the rugged leading man. And these are what you call iconic roles. I mean, Steve McQueen has played the roles, like James Garner's played the roles. You know, it's not just Harrison Ford in Blade Runner has played the detective role. I mean, but I understand, I kind of accept that there is these kind of fanboys out there that like are obsessed with these movies. So you know, I'm learning that, okay, when you step into this world, that like you're gonna, you know, it's a different ball game, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, what I find interesting that there's, and as you say, there's been a lot of talk about the influence of Blade Runner on the film, but I think many have forgotten that, and many of those fanboys that we're talking about, and God bless them, they keep me in business, many of them, but they've forgotten that Blade Runner itself was a film noir homage. That's what Ridley Scott was doing. So it's not like you're borrowing from this sort of original source material. I want to ask, what other works, other directors from your love of movies inspire what you do, both on this film and in general?
Well, I have to, honestly, genuinely, the filmmaker that's inspired me more than any since I went to America 15 years ago is Abel Ferrara. And not just from his creative, not just his personal journey, but the fact, I mean, people trashed his movie. He started off in basically hardcore porn. So did Martin Campbell, a very fine director, you know, I mean, not hardcore, softcore, but people forget this, you know. I'm very proud of Zone. I think I'm very lucky I got who I got to work to make this film with me. I think we've done a very good job. the next movie's another, you know, and I have a third and a fourth, and I come from that old school, as I said, of directors. The first movie I ever worked on when I was 17, and I'm 45 now, so that'll tell you how long I've been at this, was directed by a British director called John Irvin, who made 40 movies, you know, one a year, boom, boom, boom. Same with John Hughes, all these old school guys who've made movie after movie after movie. And most of them get criticized. Most of them succeed to some degree. That's the nature of the business. That's the nature of the game. The main thing is you keep doing it and you keep doing it, because filmmaking is such an enormous craft. That's why I admire Abel Ferrara, because I think, and now he's got this relationship with Willem Dafoe, and he's really come into another, he's just developed into another zone. It's lucky he's still alive with all the crazy stuff he got up to, but he never stopped making movies. So he was a very big influence in the last 15 years. But early on, it was Terry Gilliam, Ridley Scott, Terry Gilliam particularly, and I don't know. So, you know, I mean, of course, I was a massive fan of what Fincher did with Seven back in the day, and I think when I came up in the 90s, it was, when I came out of film school, it was a lot of Fincher and Mark Romanek, who is a very interesting, you know, but the short form filmmakers from commercials and videos, and Floria Sigismondi was an influence, you know, that brilliant, you know, I mean, they criticized her, but she's still making movies and TV, and she's, you know, it's, what I'm learning is, well, I've already learned this because I've worked for so long, that it's a tough business, you know, and it's a tremendous craft. And there's so many ways that at any time, these creations that we're making can go askew, you know? So I mean, Zone has been executed with real precision filmmaking from everybody involved. And I'm really proud of what everyone's accomplished with it. And, you know, if you want to compare it to a $200 million blockbuster, go ahead, you know? I mean, we had the catering budget of Dune or whatever, as this Blade Runner sequel, whatever it's called. I can't even tell you what the bloody movie's called, you know? But the thing was, I was originally going to make it in Serbia, because they had all this brutalist architecture and I wanted to utilize that, but it ended up going to Belfast, which I was like, how the hell am I going to make this movie in Belfast? And then I got there, and it worked out really good. And I can't speak highly enough of the people there and the location and the facilities and everything. So
it's all up there on the screen, mate. Look, it's all up there on the screen, and we're thrilled to have it down here in Australia. Congratulations on what is a terrifically enjoyable film.
Thanks, mate. And it's like, it's cool. I mean, it's great. It just by chance that I got these two great Aussie actors in the movie, and they're great guys as well, you know. And it was great to, when they eventually got to meet and work together, you know, because Travis clearly, obviously, was a great fan and had great reverence for Guy, and it was cool. It was a great experience. I'm very fortunate to get to do what I do.
It's all up there on the screen, mate. Andrew Baird, thanks so much for being with us here today, and good luck with this one and well into the future.
All right. Thank you, mate. Thanks, Simon. Talk to you later. Take care, mate.